Okay, if we get started, first of all, I'd like to welcome everybody. This Hall of Fame induction ceremony is actually our third now. My name is Greg Lanther. I'm the athletic director, and I'm your host. We'll start with, if we can get ready to please rise, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is say some thank yous. My first thank you is to Greg Magno, our principal, who's incredibly supportive of this event and is going to be here because he knows many of the inductees. He actually was at the boys water polo CIF championship game, which they won 9-8 in the last 30 seconds. So he said he's on his way. He'll get here as soon as he can. Are any of the Hall of Fame committee members going to have you guys stand? Hall of Fame committee members, that's you, Mark. Okay, so these are Hall of Fame. These are both, we have two different committees for those of you that aren't familiar with the process. One is on the athletic and now coaching contributing side, and one is on the achievement and contributing side. They're the ones that determine who gets it selected and who doesn't. I'd like to thank Sanford Carmel Hall, who's actually behind the screen. He's the ASB director. He's in charge of or responsible for the other committee outside of I do the athletics. He does the achievement, and he does all of the slideshows that you're going to see, all of our tech stuff. And then, of course, my assistant, Emily in the back, Emily Comstock. So she does all the work. You all Hall of Fame inductees know her because she's the one that's been organizing and coordinating, and she's the one that decorates, and she's the one that plans. They don't let me do some of that stuff. So anyway, so to give you a little bit of information, because some of you probably you know that you've been at Mount Carmel for over the course of the years, that our tradition in here was that we would only put up CIF championship banners. And obviously, we're starting to run out of wall space. I think we have 108, counting 109, counting boys water polo. But we started a couple years ago, so what you see behind us here is what we call a one-year wall. So teams that win a league championship or an athlete of the year in their league or are somewhere outstanding athletic achievers get their banners. They put them up for 1 year, then we take them down and put new ones up every June. So that's just something to help celebrate them. So in case you're wondering what that is. The other thing that I wanted to make sure they understand is when we started the Hall of Fame 3 years ago, our vision at that time was that the coaches from Mount Carmel would go into the Hall of Fame as athletic achievement inductees. And then we started to wonder, what are we going to do with the coaches that maybe they don't think won enough championships or achieved at a high level? Did they not still contribute to the school? So we made a decision during this last year that from now on, all of the coaches would go in as contributors in the contribution category instead of the achievement side, which now means all of the athletic achievement inductees have to be graduates. They can't be anyone that didn't graduate from the school. And the coaches would go in as contributors. We have several of those going in today. So we get started. The way this is going to work is that we have 12 people that are going to go in. We're going to do 6 speeches. We're going to introduce them. They're going to have a brief slideshow of their history as they come up here. And then when they're done, after 6, we'll have an intermission for about 20 minutes. There's snacks, cake, things, and you can socialize, and you can start eating, and then we'll do the other 6. And then at the end, when we leave, we'll go over. We have a room to display. It's a classroom that Mr. Magno gave us. It's fantastic. It's always under construction. We're working on it, but it's certainly worth going to see, where everyone's on the wall. All the inductees are on the wall. We have some display cases and some other tributes in there. So that will finish the program. So let's get started with our first inductee. This is in the contribution category. This person I've known for a very long time. When I say, I'll probably say that several times, but you understand, when I met them, I was really young. So it's not like I've known them for a really long time. This person was a 25-year varsity coach and teacher here at Mount Carmel. He's actually the person that started the girls' soccer program in the contribution category, Mr. Jim Dutton.
they do it alphabetically, and Accarelli would get it. I was most surprised and honored when Mr. Lanthier called me and said I had been selected. And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah." And kind of reminded me of Mr. Accarelli when he got selected Teacher of the Year. I came out a little better because the principal at that time came to his office and said, "You've been elected Teacher of the Year." And he said, "Are you sure? That might be a mistake." And he said, "Don't worry, I didn't vote for you." So, thank you, Greg, for cutting me some slack. At any rate, I was born in Georgia. Dad was in the Navy. We came west when I was 3, and Westpac, up and down the coast. Graduated from Vista High, and I wanted to get a job and make money. Dad said, "No, you're going to college," which I wasn't really ready for. So, Palomar, San Diego State, and I got lucky in the fact my junior year I decided to go into education, and I even got luckier because I started teaching at Meadowbrook and Poway and had a great crew to work with. And after 10 years, I came to Mount Carmel, and I found I had another great crew to work with. Mount Carmel at that time, and it still is, was pretty much a family, and we kind of helped everybody out. There wasn't anybody beating their chest. In fact, we kind of beat up on each other most of the time. And I jotted some things down that you look at Mount Carmel, and I think back on it, class advisor, co-advisor. When you're a young teacher, you think you can do this, and you realize, oh my God, 4 years. It's not 1 year, it's 4 years. And you're doing all these activities with them. Start going to prom, learn the lesson early, don't sign up as a chaperone for prom, just go. And my sister, first year I went, airbrushed Daffy Duck on my tuxedo shirt, and has started a trend. So every year at prom, I'd cut a new shirt and have to pay somebody to airbrush some character on it. And the kids wouldn't even say hi to me. They'd say, "Turn around, I want to see your shirt." And it was one of those scenarios where I use the word family again, in the fact that everybody kind of worked together to make things better. And some of the things we did while we were here, I'm going to read this because I won't get it right otherwise. At times, Mount Carmel was an island and a creator for change. Sometimes even that change was in an argument with the district office, and we referred to it as the dark side over there. Sorry, Pat. At any rate, Joe McEachern coined a phrase for us, reach them, teach them, touch them all. And we, as a group, really tried to do that. And as new people came in, the folks that were already here really kind of put that into play, and the whole staff joined with it. We did things together as a group. A lot of times you go to work and you're not best friends with the people you work with, but some of the things we did, and I jotted this down too. Faculty talent show. I wasn't very talented. Jancy's basketball pool. That's the one that got Hank in trouble with the pick 6. Dr. Michael Dean. Sam? Remember? Okay. We even got teachers hypnotized on that one. Donkey basketball game. I'm the only one that stood on the back of the donkey and dunked the ball. Dunk 'em Dutton. That's what some of the seniors call them. The student faculty basketball game. I must admit, I did not want to participate in that one. We had McKinney's after game parties, after football season. We had faculty plays. Doug Smith lied to me. He told me you didn't have to wear makeup. I found out on the performance night that wasn't true. Slugfest. Don Hurst is here. He's the oldest principal alive in Poway. But he came in and saw Slugfest and saw one of our students punch another student and put his lights out. And he turned to our athletic director and said something, "This is the last year we're going to be doing Slugfest." But it was a great fundraiser. We filled a gym. The faculty charger basketball game, at least one year, got a little more out of hand, as some of the Chargers were playing football more than basketball. Building trades class, building sheds. And then, as an instructor and as a coach, and I'm one of those coaches, by the way, that am not getting in because of CIF records. We kissed our sister 3 times, made it to the finals, but finished second. But think about it, candy sales, golf tournament tickets, delivering phone books, bake sales, car washes, snack bars, silent auctions. We even worked in a warehouse counting jackets, magazine sales. Tom, Kenny, magazine sales? We got lucky in one of our programs with soccer, and the fact that one of the parents wrote a grant. We got $25,000. We bought trailers. We collected recyclables out in the parking lot, aluminum, plastic. And when aluminum was 25 cents a can, we made $12,500 that year. We had enough to buy new equipment. We gave scholarships to kids for a number of years. And the band was doing newspapers. A lot of you might remember newspapers as a fundraiser. We had Big and Little Sisters, we had scrapbooks and awards banquets. One of the pictures up there, I was told I had to tell this story, was the fact that every time we went to my alma mater and played Vista, Mom baked cookies, and she made 3 kinds: oatmeal raisin, molasses, and chocolate chip. If the girls won, they got cookies. If they lost, I took them home. And there was a little incentive there. And it wasn't too bad because we had a varsity team, then we had a JV team. That meant 120, and then we added freshmen. And I think the last 10 years, she was baking 180 cookies every time we went to Vista to play. And it was one interesting thing that every time we hit the road at Vista, we had the largest crowd because all these parents would show up, and in case we lost, I can't eat 100 plus cookies. We didn't lose very often, by the way, once the cookies started. But as an example, the support from parents, whether it was in the classroom or whether it was on the field, and everybody helped. Wrestlers came out and cheered for us. Rudy's not here, but he did his Karnak routine and picked on wrestling, football, soccer, all in good spirits. But first of all, thanks to the Athletic Foundation. I'm again really surprised and honored with this, and to be put in with some of my former students, and obviously some of the people I worked with. I'm overjoyed. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we give all the inductees, this is a duplicate of the placard that hangs on the wall in the Hall of Fame room, and then they get a jacket that only the members get. So it says. Okay, our next inductee comes from the athletic achievement category. Certainly some of our programs on our campus, if you look up the wall, have been more successful than others. None very much more successful than this one. Our girls swim and dive program has won 10 CIF championships, 12 runners-ups, and 16 league championships. This swimmer was a 9-time All-American times. She would go on to the University of Denver and swim for 4 years. Going in the athletic category is Haley Edelson.
Can you guys hear me okay? Well, I just want to start by saying thank you for this honor of being inducted to the Mount Carmel Hall of Fame. It's extremely humbling to be recognized among these other distinguished alumni. My mom was an accomplished competitive swimmer, and she was part of the reason why I started swimming when I was about 5 years old. I swam on a club team continuously, but swimming for Mount Carmel was always different. Throughout my time there, the team always referred to our MC heart, and the people and love of that team truly embodied that saying. Our team came together through our silly cheers and our painted faces, crowds behind your lane, to always support and believe in you. Our team had so much joy together, and it really wasn't until Mount Carmel Swimming where I felt like part of the team. As a team, we had many successes between our relay records, league championships, CIF championships, and a large success of that was due to our high school coach, Dan Peck. As swimming got more competitive, it was always hard to figure out those next steps and how to get there, but Dan was always brainstorming and teaching me the best ways to get there. I never once doubted that Dan thought I could reach my goal, whether it be breaking a record or getting a best time. I think he believed in me more than I did at times. From the success at Mount Carmel, I was able to continue on with my swimming career at University of Denver, where we were able to continue on to have some conference championships and many other accolades. Mount Carmel swimming was a large part of my family as well. My brother went on to swim there after me and get many team records, and for a while, Edelson and Edelson ruled the 1500 freestyle record board. My mom went on to coach there for the Mount Carmel JV team. My dad made many swim slideshows for our banquets, capturing all our happy memories. Then suddenly, my swim teammates turned into swim family. Years later, I went on to my teammate Danielle Spence's wedding, and I met her sister. I went to Danielle Spence's wedding, where I hung out with her sister, my former teammate Whitney, and I met Whitney's brother-in-law, who is now my husband. So my teammate Whitney is now my sister-in-law, an aunt to my baby girl. I want to thank her for always being a great example of an athlete who had extreme work ethic and has been a great support to me over the years. It's an honor to be recognized tonight, and a bigger honor to receive it from my sister-in-law, Whitney. Mount Carmel has meant so much to me throughout my athletic career and my life. Thank you.
Okay, so this has been a very rewarding experience for me, getting to host this and help putting this on. But I gotta be honest, my favorite part is the part that's coming up, because I'm a graduate of 1981, most of you know that. But when I was here and I socialized mainly with athletes and coaches, because that was the people that I spent most of my time with, clearly there were a whole bunch of other students that were on campus that were doing things and going on to do great things. And through this process, we're starting to discover what some of those people are out there changing the world for the good. And this is one of them. This is from the class of 1980. This person is a wildlife photographer, considered one of the top wildlife photographers in the world. He's also one of the leading animal conservationists, and that is Roy Toft.
Actually, my name's Joe Mendelson, PhD herpetologist. I've discovered organs in frogs that no one knew existed. How cool is this guy? I wish I was Joe. Joe's over here. See, I was the snake guy in school, right? Anybody remember me? I was the snake guy. Now Joe's the snake guy. All right, I guess I'll just talk about taking pictures, not discovering things in frogs. Great honor to be here. It was such a shock. You know, I've been lucky to do what I've always loved to do, and that is be in nature. And photography was my avenue to be in nature. And so it's been a wonderful ride. I'm still doing it, just a little differently now. Little nicer lodges than the first 30 years. Not so much sitting in tents and waiting for animals for months. But it's been great. We have a fellow Cal Poly alumni at my table, and that was a great school to go to after this great school. When I came here in '77, it was a pretty new school. And growing up, I lived in Poway. Growing up here was a wonderful time and a wonderful place to grow up, especially if you love nature. A lot of open hills. I had a motorcycle, and I spent my days looking for snakes. All my buddies were going around in a circle on their motorcycle as fast as they could go, and I was going slow and looking for snakes. I had a teacher here that meant a lot to me, Bert McIntosh. Remember Mr. Mac? Yeah. So he was the zoology instructor, and so if you love animals, who better to connect with someone? And he was a great mentor for me. And we touched base a little bit after that. But anyway, once again, I'll keep this short. It's an honor to be amongst these wonderful people, wonderful teachers, and coaches that are being inducted today, and fellow alumni. It's great to be among you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Also, in case nobody knows, there's a supply chain shortage out there. So we were limited at our sizes of our jacket. So if you get a jacket that doesn't fit you, or you try, just give it back to us, and we will replace it. Use the one that actually will work for you. So our next inductee is in the contribution category, and obviously very close to the athletic department. When I first got here, I don't know if she would have retired the year before, but she didn't feel like it was fair to leave a first-year athletic director here as a first-year athletic director on his own, which is a good thing, that I was not left on my own. All I know is the year that she was gone, the first year Emily we're going through the year, and people would go, well, what did you do about this last year? And I went, I don't know, Linda did that. And then they said, well, do you remember how you did that? I said, I didn't do that, Linda did that. And so there was a lot of things that Linda did on her own, and that we had to figure out how to do for ourselves. But I would think over the course of her time, the amount of athletes, parents, teachers that she was able to affect and touch and help through their experience is really something that was extremely valued in our community. Certainly deserving. Linda Uribe.
news of being nominated into Mount Carmel Hall of Fame, it hit me with mixed feelings. On one hand, I felt so honored and grateful. And on the other hand, I started to feel overwhelmed and scared. At the thought of me standing up here and speaking. After all, I was always the one in the background, making sure everything was in place and ran smoothly. So forgive me if I feel a bit nervous. My family moved from Orange County in 1980 here to San Diego when my husband received a promotion with his company. My daughters, Alina and Adina, were both going into the Poway Unified School District schools, one at Sundance and the other at Black Mountain. During the 80s, we also were blessed with 2 sons, Orlando and Gabe. When I gave my daughter Adina my bio to proofread for me, she asked, "Mom, didn't you start working in the early 80s? I wasn't working for PUSD then, but I did do volunteer work. So the Uribe family has been involved with PUSD for many, many years. My volunteering led to part-time subbing. By volunteering and subbing in the library, I was able to enjoy storytelling and helping students become familiar with what the library had to offer. I also subbed in the elementary school offices. In the fall of 1992, I was offered a job in the attendance office. As I walked into the principal's conference room for my interview, I overheard Vi McCleary, the attendance supervisor, say, "She's wearing the right color." I wore red and became part of the Sun Devil family. I worked in the attendance office for a few years and moved over into the athletic department. I had the privilege of working with 4 athletic directors. Frank Andruski, thank you for your patience as I was learning my new duties. Dennis McClanahan, thank you for believing in me and assisting me as I learned the new athletic computer programs. Randy Wright, I was blessed when our families were able to meet and spend some quality time together. You and Julie will always be a special couple to me and my family. Greg Lanthier, thank you for working with me and not making changes until I left. I know some changes are good, but thank you. While at Mount Carmel, I had the pleasure of working with 5 principals. Early on, one of these principals called me into his office and said, "Linda, your number 1 duty is to keep me out of my boss's office." This was my cue to make sure that all I's were dotted and T's were crossed. Greg Magno was the last principal I worked with before retirement. One day, Mr. Magno called me into his office. We discussed the timeline payment of some of our coaches' stipends. One of my last duties was to turn in the last payment for coaches' stipends. I was proud to report back that Mount Carmel was the only high school in the district that had a 0 balance for coaches' stipend at the end of the 2018-19 school year. I was privileged to work with a great athletic foundation. I met many wonderful, dedicated volunteers, and I was able to develop long-lasting friendships with the board of directors as we worked together on improving district finances. Dale Anderson, Mark Werner, Tom McFadden, and Stacy Downing. In Sun Devil pride, I thank you. Through the years, I've met a lot of amazing people. Some I met as students, and later they became teachers and coaches. Anyone who has worked or volunteered for Mount Carmel feels like it's a second family. We often get compliments from subs on how friendly everyone is and how welcome they felt. I do miss my Mount Carmel daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters, and my 2 MC grandsons. It was a pleasure watching you become teachers and coaches, but most of all, role models. There are so many of you out there, and I would hate to leave anyone out. So I'll just say thank you for letting me be a small part of your life. I've also been privileged to work with a great office staff while here at Mount Carmel. We were a team that I was proud to be part of. I'd like to thank the last assistant principals I worked with that helped make coming to work a pleasure. Katie Salo, Sarah Ramirez, Robert Tubbs, and Colin Young. Sarah, thank you, and Jerry for opening your home for Alan, Aaron, and my retirement celebration. And to ASB Director Sanford Carvajal, you did keep things interesting. Thank you for all you do for Mount Carmel students and staff. As for the wonderful women I worked with in the office, the bond we have can never be broken. Thank you for this sisterhood. To my family, as you wish. To my husband, Orlando, thank you for your understanding of my love for my work. You are truly my soulmate. All my children are Mount Carmel grads, and a bonus, a grandson, Alex. I was privileged to hand Orlando, Gabriel, and Alex their high school diplomas. In retirement, I've been able to spend more time with Alina and her adult children, Ariana and Brian, and my great-granddaughter, Aurora. Lena, enjoy your granddaughter. She will be grown up before you know it. Adina, thank you for all your help and hard work and being a great mom to Alex. Londo, I admire the love and commitment you show in all you do for your family and others. And I'm so happy that I have Christine as part of our family. Gabriel, you and Melissa are amazing parents. Your son Wesley is very fortunate. And I can't wait for his baby sister that will be arriving in the spring. So in closing, may your troubles be small and your blessings abundant, and may nothing but happiness come to your door. God bless you all, and Sun Devil spirit and pride, I thank you.
Okay, our next inductee comes in the contribution category, and I've had several conversations with him, and I know he feels very humble, and actually did not feel like he was worthy to be a Hall of Fame inductee. And when you start thinking about contribution, you think about teachers or educators that taught for 25 or 30 years, and if you were a varsity coach for more than 20 years, the difficulty in that task and the amount of people that you come into contact with, and the amount of lives that you affect, that you change, it's really hard to imagine that you could not be a contributor. I know this person because, for one, he was my master teacher when I did my student teaching here in 1987. And I can tell you that from a student standpoint, he was beloved. by the students here at Mount Carmel High School. In the contribution category, we have Hank Accarelli.
Spirit as hell. Anyway, I'm obviously very humbled and proud and honored to be inducted into the Mount Carmel Hall of Fame. I'm in the very special members, as you know. And Roy, I want to mention to you, with Mr. McIntosh, all those little mice that we fed his snakes, they came from the student store. We captured those little devils and brought them to Mr. McIntosh prepared them. And Linda used to send me notes. She used to send me notes, and she'd have on there, "Coach," with a question mark. And one day she called me in my classroom. So I got this little kid, Steve Geist, in the back, said, "Mr. Accarelli, the phone's ringing." "I know that." I said, "Answer it for me, please." So he answers it, and he turns around, he puts his hand over the receiver, and he says, "It's a woman." I said, "Okay." And she said, "It's important." So I went over there, and I got the phone, and I looked around at the class, and I said, "I thought I told you never to call me at this number." And then, of course, my class is wrecked for the rest of the day. Because I want to mention that I was hired here in 1970, so I'm really one old dude, to teach at Meadowbrook Middle School. And I taught basically, I had 3 classes of PE, coached after school, and I ran the ASB. But my classroom duties were just a bundle of fun. I absolutely loved it. And after about 7 years, I came over here to the Mount. And my principal at Meadowbrook was Don Hurst. And then after I came here, Don transferred to Mount Carmel. So we're talking about one great principal. This guy was the best. So I worked in classes here to fit my college degree, which was in business and economics. So I taught 4 business classes, and I ran a student store. And my students in retail sales were learning how to run the store, learn retail sales and merchandising, with all the proceeds obviously going to the ASB. Now, I love my teaching assignment. Working with high school students was an obvious challenge, and but it was also very rewarding. And I affectionately called them the Munchkins. So all my students, my players, were all called the Munchkins. Some of them are here now, and I just want to tell you, you are still the Munchkins. So I felt that working in this particular area, teaching Munchkins, it was rather rewarding. It was, as I say, a challenge. I had to make my lesson plans more sophisticated. I had to change them, had to rework them. I also had to institute some rules. So one of my rules was you had to be on time. So punctuality was good. Respect was another. And then we had TS and RS. So when they complain, and all students complain, hell, we complain. My wife tells me I complain too much. So when they used to complain about an exam or an assignment, I'd turn around to the board and I'd put a giant TS on the board. Now, you all know what that stands for. tough situation. I said, just do it, no complaints. And so I always felt, though, that the little munchkins always had to be loved and hugged and pinched in the arm when they were making bad choices. But I also felt that we could help them. We had to tell them we could help them. We had to show them that we cared. And the best way to do that was to act more like an educator. And so with a lot of my students, I still keep in touch with them, and I'm so proud that so many of them are doing very well. We had another rule in my class, which was RS, no retina strain. So when we had exams, you know, the idea that you can look over and see somebody else's paper. So there was no retina strain in our classes, and you could always tell the students walking around campus who had exams, because they were always, well, how did you and your partner do? So my second year here, I became the varsity soccer coach. I had been coaching at the junior high level. I coached my son's team, my daughter's team. And so the athletic director said, if you don't take this team, we're going to cancel soccer. So I took the team. I had a very good assistant, a volunteer, a CPA who grew up in England, played soccer, knew the game. So into high school soccer. That was a big twist for me. First thing, you play games. You have the referees who come up to you and you say, we're watching for dangerous play and foul language. So I said, okay. And they said, if your players do this, we're going to have to give them a card, red card. So I said, okay. So Bob and I got together and we had some rules. Number one, no trash talk. You don't knock your competition. Secondly, stay focused. Third, no farm talk. Next, no biology talk. Now, I don't know, you might know what I'm talking about. People call each other body parts, and then if you worked on a farm, you know you stepped in stuff. So the referees, they were very quick to put out the cards for those who made those infractions. So we played in a very tough league, and Poway High, of course, was our big rival. And my son, who was all CIF, played at Poway High. One of our players, all CIF, Mike Fortney, was here, and he will attest to the fact that we always had battles with Poway High. The one thing, though, that really bothered me the most, other than them scoring more goals than we scored usually, was the fact that when they did score a goal, we're playing Poway, my son would run by the bench with his little buddies and go, and, you know, that became annoying. But nevertheless, they were better, and there were times when we really had some good players, and we did well. We won the league a few times, we got the playoffs, but never won the CIF crown. But then there were years when we just had a lot of nice kids. So we had both sides of the spectrum, and I also coached all three levels of soccer here at this school, and absolutely enjoyed it. So I also had the surf team. We won our league one time, and 10 years. And then when I gave that up, Mark Green took it over, and they did a lot better than I did when I had a team. So my assignment also included JV football announcing. So I became the voice of the JV football team. Now, there were a lot of names that I had trouble with. So when I had trouble with a name, I would insert our head custodian. I would put him into the games. So I was in the press box with some really heavy hitters. I had Sam Blaylock, Steve Eisler, Jose Campo, occasionally Marinkovic. Now these guys, they encouraged me to do this. So I'm confessing that I'm innocent. They're the ones. So we put John Kirschmeyer in every game. We did a couple of plays. And we gave him credit for a tackle or from a recovery. And he would look up and smile, and we'd smile back. We're at the best spots. So one day I get called into the office by the principal. And she says, I understand that our head custodian has been announced in JV football games. Now, why would you do that? I said, well, we felt that he still had some eligibility left. Now, talk about TS. That was a tough situation for me. Because I'm the only guy in the office there smiling. And I found out you don't mess. You don't mess with the management. They come and get you. So, at any rate, so the next game, I talked to the fellas, and I told them, I said, I got called in the office. We can't put John in the game anymore. So my buddy Sam Blaylock says, well, let's put the principal in the game. I'm confessing now to Sam, he's guilty. So we put her in the game, and and it was a fumble. We made sure that she fumbled the ball. And we were playing Escondido High at the time, the JV team Escondido High. He said, fumble, S. Johnson. We had to repeat it too so everybody heard it. Well, Sam looks around, and then he looks at me with this horrible look. And I look around, and there is S. Johnson standing at the door. So I said, Sam, if I'm going, you're going. I was sure we were going to be down in Fashion Valley selling gallon cap shoes. But anyway, our principal left for Rancho Bernardo High, so we got a new principal. And Sam left also. I don't know how that works, Sam. At any rate, so with her gone, we put John back in the games, the JV games. We did that. But listen, I want to tell you that I want to thank Don Hurst for being such a wonderful principal and a great supporter over the years. I also want to thank my little spouse for. I used to work for a company called Westinghouse, and they had a lot of benefits and good salary, and even though I was the low man on the totem pole, I made more money working for them than I did coming to education. But it was I had to go back and get my credential, and I'm glad I did it because that's where I wanted to be. I tell you, I loved all those little munchkins, and I still do. I miss them. I miss this job every day. I miss my coaching and teaching these little munchkins. My wife will tell you, I still have my lesson plans sitting at home. I'm afraid she's gonna send me to the market someday and destroy all that stuff. But at any rate, I also want to thank my little family for traveling long distance, for coming here. And I want to thank all of you for coming and supporting Mount Carmel events such as this. And I want to tell you, just keep on hugging and loving your munchkins. And thank you, and God bless you. I love you.
Okay, so this will be our last inductee, then we'll go to a break. Again, this is another one of our programs in our campus that has been extremely successful. She's one of the more decorated members of that program. It's our girls basketball program, which has won 7 CIF titles. She would graduate from here, go on to play at UC Santa Barbara, as well as professionally in Europe. And so this inductee for athletics is Chris Krazzini.
Can't escape the bad haircuts, bad hairdos. They come back and haunt you. I was hoping they were going to put my basketball picture up there, but that's all right. So when I got the email that I had been selected, I was very honored. Then I saw the list, and I was very humbled by what's on there, those who have already been inducted. And then I started thinking about all the people that haven't been yet, and was even more humbled. Those of you guys that know me can hear in my voice, I get very emotional. Cry. And then I found out I had to give a speech. And I just finished my doctorate. And I could write some Xanax. Just kidding, I'm not that type of doctor. So Chinese herbs, Xiaoyawan helps me out here. And then last night I found out I had to follow Coach Accarelli. Nothing's gonna help with that. So just gotta get up here and give it a shot. So I had a good career here. But nowhere near what you're going to hear about Whitney. I was one of the few to be on the second CIF team. Very honored to be in that group. But more so, what I want to talk about is that all the teachers and the coaches here and in my life have helped me. I've been a high school and college basketball coach for 22 years. And I made a little slideshow to help me get through this. But the why that was up there were all of, from my first team to my current team and kids in between. And just like Coach said earlier, it's about loving on them. They don't care what you know, they know how much you care. So, and I believe I learned that here. Coach Bros, she told me a few years ago when this first started that she had nominated me. And I hoped that she would be here today, but she wasn't able to make it. Breathe. Okay. And I also, I know she's going to be inducted soon. And I had in my head, before I got the list, hoped we would be here together. But she instilled in me the work ethic and the attention to detail that I think carried me throughout my basketball career, but also in my coaching career. And there have been a few things that she did here at the Mount before she went to RD. And then I had the privilege of coaching with her for 6 years over at RD. So the actual last time I was in this gym until last night was coaching against Whitney when I was with Peg at RD. But many of the things that she did for us as players and she continued to do through her whole coaching career are things that I have continued to do for my teams, including writing letters to them on game days, her phrase, believe and achieve, and commitment to excellence, are all things that I've carried on. I've got it a little bit ahead of myself. The first slide, I was hoping they were going to be up there so I would not have to look at this, but how it all started, there was a picture of me in middle school looking like a total spaz. I was trying to shoot like this. And in researching for this, I found quotes from the coach who took over from Peg when she left, Tracy Johnson, talking about how she couldn't get me to square up. Never could. My college coach taught me how to do the hook shot. So, But how it all started really was about watching my dad and my sister. And I'm very happy that you guys could be here. They were role models for me, and I know my dad truly was my first coach, even though I didn't let him do it a lot of times. And my sister played in high school and college, and she's a few years older than me, so I got to watch her do that, and I always wanted to follow in her footsteps. And then my younger sister actually played here. We didn't actually get to play together because she tore her ACL and wasn't able to play the year we would have been teammates. But it's always been about family, but also our Mount family. And so many of you guys here were teachers or coaches that supported me. And so what I wanted to do was to thank the people that have helped me. I don't want this to be about me, but the people that have helped me. Thank you to give back. Because one of the things that I held close to me, and I was just looking, one of my college teammates is now the head coach at UCLA. She let me work with her. I worked down there for 2 years. And I just saw this morning on the way over here something that she was talking about. It's about who you become as you're going through your path and who you impact. And so many of you have impacted me. And I hope that I've impacted the people, the girls that I've coached. And taken the lessons that I learned here from you all and paid it forward to them. So I just wanted to thank, obviously, Peg. Maybe a little silly story. The first time I called her when I moved back down here, I was getting my master's in Chinese medicine. And I wanted to coach. My college coaches, had recognized that I loved working camps. And they said, hey, maybe you want to coach. So my first job was right out of college at the high school up in Santa Barbara. And I was there for 2 years, and then I came down here and I wanted to coach. So I called Peg, and she goes, I don't have a spot, but I'd be crazy to turn you down. And I then had the privilege of being on staff with Coach Blaylock and a bunch of other Sun Devils who were over there. So Tracy Stowe, Tracy Peck, Amy Franzen, Paul, who was our vice principal, and I am blanking on his last name, but he was here as well. But it took about 3 months, and I kept calling her Coach Bros, Coach Bros, Coach Bros. And she said, Chris, you have to call me Peg. And the first time I was talking to some of my teammates afterwards and call her Peg or Peggy, they're like, you mean Coach Bros? Because I don't know. Coach was pretty intense when she was here. She mellowed as she got older, and all of us, or not all of us, but most of us that coached with her were her former players. And we all joked that she had softened so that we could yell at the players. She let us do the discipline and you have to go hard, everything. Conditioning, I got to do the conditioning and strength and conditioning stuff. And she was getting us ready to be coaches outside of working with her. She actually was preparing me to take over for her at RB. And then this lovely thing called the Navy decided we were going to leave. So my husband was in the Navy for 20 years, and we moved. So I had to tell Peg, I can't stay. We're going back east. But what I want to say is thank those, I'm getting distracted here, thank those that were here. So my college coach continued where Peg left off, and my influences, that's my mom and my family. My mom passed right after college. That was right before she passed. And so I'm just gonna thank those of you guys that are here, and if you're not here. So my coaches that all of you would know, I literally wrote every coach that I've worked with that has helped me. So you're on here if you're not here, but Russ Lanthorn, Claudia Hayden, Coach Kernigan, Tracy Johnson, Peggy Bros, Lanthorn again, Yvonne Sanchez, Alita Detta, John Marankovich, although he was the boys coach when Peg left, he took over our class, PE class, so that all of us on the basketball team could continue to have basketball during the day, and I really do think that was part of the success of our program. Coach Samaras, and so I'm up here because of basketball, but I did play volleyball and I did do track, So Coach Morris, I was a hurdler for about this big. Coach McClanahan, Coach Campo, Bobby, Charlie, and Patsy for volleyball. And Coach Blaylock, we got to work together, but I was just telling my daughter's story. He was my PE teacher for swim, and I got to play with Robin and then coach against Robin, play against Robin. So, and then and Coach Ackerfelli, Mr. Castillo, Mr. Edwards. There's so many of them, and I just want to thank all of you, and hopefully I'm going to keep coaching, keep impacting lives, and I hope that the rest of you will take that and know how much you are appreciated and keep paying that on forward to everyone else that you're around. So thank you so much for this honor, and I'm going to turn it over because I'm sweating like crazy.
Okay, we're going to take about a 15-20 minute break. We've got snacks in the back, cake, water, cheese and crackers. Then I'll give you a 5-minute call when we're going to resume. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with the second half of the program. I'd like to give 2 quick shout outs. We have from 1981, Don Hurst. Don Hurst. So Don Hurst, principal from 1981, he was the principal when I was here. And then our first original football coach who's not here is John Self, who's suffering from Alzheimer's. We want to give him our best. He's not when capable of coming. As we get to the next contribution member, this was someone that was around in my time. He was around for a long time. One thing I always remember about him is that I never really knew what his position was because he had so many of them. He was an attendance clerk, he was an athletic director, he taught opportunity, he taught RZ, he was an assistant football coach, he was a head football coach. You know, he really did so many different things. He's also has a little bit of health issues, so he couldn't make the trip here. He lives in Arizona, but his sons are both here. Mike and Mark Andrewski wanted to come speak for him on his behalf. Frank Andrewski.
Luckily, my brother, can you hear me? Okay. Luckily, my brother brought his glasses because the lad even here, I can't see my talk at all. So I brought his glasses. Well, unfortunately, due to health issues, Frank is not able to be here today. Many of you know that he has a leak in his heart. Whenever he gets emotional, his heart leaks out through his eyes. So when Frank was told about this honor, his heart leaked in appreciation. He asked that I say thank you to the coaches, the students, and his fans. So on behalf of my dad, Frank Andrewski, I would like to thank Mount Carmel High School and the committee for his nomination and induction into Mount Carmel's Hall of Fame. Some of you know that Frank writes poetry. He once wrote a poem entitled Keep. Keep your chin up, keep your eyes open and keep your feet moving. Or keep your chin down, keep your eyes closed, and pray always. In a 1996 newspaper article entitled Playing It Safe, Frank was quoted, "There's so much padding now, even compared with the helmet I wore as a professional," said Mount Carmel athletic director and assistant coach Frank Andruski, a former defensive back in the Canadian Football League. "My worst injury was when I hit a guy who was only 170 pounds. He caught a pass, and I came in with my head down. It knocked me out, and I ended up in the hospital. I was hitting a guy smaller than me, but I got my head down." Because football is a full contact sport, head injuries like the one my dad mentioned are relatively common. Concussions are particularly concerning, as repeated concussions are reported to increase a person's risk later in life for mental health issues, such as dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Football experts say players need to change the way they tackle in order to reduce the risk of such concussions. First, they need to keep their head up while tackling. Dropping the head during a tackle or leading with the helmet can result in injuries such as a concussion. Also, keeping their head up allows them to keep their eyes on the target, such as the ball or the opponent. Then, after they've wrapped up their opponent, they need to let their legs do the rest, pushing their opponent backwards and up, taking him off his feet and to the ground. So remember, keep your chin up, keep your eyes open, and keep your feet moving. Frank Andruski had many concussions throughout his career. He can remember at least 5 of them, but my mom says there are probably many more. About 5 years ago, Frank began having memory issues. And in 2018, he was formally diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's, which are having a dramatic effect on his short-term memory. Although he does remember his time at Mount Carmel, sadly, Frank does not remember the diagnosis, so he thinks there's nothing wrong with him. But he doesn't remember where he lives. He doesn't remember his great-grandchildren. He doesn't remember having COVID or even what it is. Sadly, he doesn't remember anything that occurred in the last 10 years. Not even the banana split he ate yesterday. Frank's condition is heartbreaking, but sometimes you can't tackle all your challenges. Sometimes all you can do is keep your chin down, keep your eyes closed, and keep praying. About 10 years ago, my dad started an autobiography. He wrote the following: "While playing professional football in Canada, I was forced to take other jobs during the off-season to make ends meet. Football players in those days, especially in Canada, did not make very much money. One off-season, I tried teaching PE at a local high school. It was not good. I swore off teaching. It was not a good experience. I just couldn't handle or deal with kids." Well, luckily for Mount Carmel, those thoughts didn't last long. One of his good friends at Mount Carmel was Coach Gary Jolk, and he once said, "I had the honor of coaching and teaching with Frank from 1975 until he retired in the late 90s. A great Sun Devil, who made a difference in countless lives." The following are some words from just a few of Frank's fans. Christopher Kempa from class of '88 said, "They say that when growing up, you will come across someone who impacts your life in such a positive way you'll never forget them. That person to me is Coach Andruski." Eric Curry, class of '80, said, "Mr. Andruski is one of the legendary Mount Carmel teachers and administrators who impacted so many students from the '70s and '80s. Beverly Kohler, class of '83, "I owe him so much. If it weren't for him convincing my mom Abraxas was the best place for me, I don't know if I ever would have graduated." Scott Whaley, class of '80, "Getting a lifesaver from him was a special treat during football practice. He was one of the great coaches." Athletic trainer Mark Green said, "He was a great mentor to me and taught me that any negative situation can be made better with a cookie." Robin Scharmenberger, class of '80, said, "When he moved into admin at Mount Carmel, I went to his office a few times, and we'd have actual adult conversations about life. It was very meaningful to have someone who was willing to listen to a 17-year-old. Damon Wright, class of 91, said, "I will always remember the lifesavers for great plays during a game." Eric Schlegel, class of 78, says, "Hey coach, I have a lot of great memories of you being a great DB coach. A couple of bad ones, but that was my fault." Coach Bill Christopher said, "Frank, you were the best DB coach and even a better man." A co-worker in the year 1998 said, "I still laugh when I think of how you would scam chocolate chip cookies off unsuspecting students. And I'm sure Joe Tadros still hasn't figured out how you kept winning all those bets." Chris Beeman, class of 88, said, "Coach Andruski, we still talk about our frosh football season with 9-1. You did a great job molding us into men." Well, in 1984, my dad was made head football coach of the freshman football team. And at the end of the season, he wrote this poem to the players entitled "A Long Way from Lincoln." A group of little Sun Devils ventured to Lincoln, and all that can be said is they left the place stinking. At Oceanside, a great comeback we did make. To win a game, we now knew what it would take. A victory against Escondido was enjoyed by all. Learning what football was all about, we stood proud and tall. From the Falcons of Torrey Pines, we did learn, without concentration and emotion, at losing you'll take your turn. Against Orange Glen, we got back on the winning track. Having fun, hitting, and scoring, we did not lack. San Pasqual was the most dominating victory of the year, letting all opponents know they had something to fear. Enthusiasm, ball control, and great defense led the way. A super great team victory over Vista is all one can say. San Diego brought out the luck in us. Knowing we'd pull it out, what was all the fuss? Beating Fallbrook made us a solid team. A great season was no longer a dream. Finishing the season against Poway in style, knowing how far we had come, left everyone with a smile. So as the season comes to a close, I'm sure everyone knows those little Sun Devils that went to Lincoln improved tremendously to finish with a 9-1 season. But more important than winning is along the way, they learned about football, had some fun, made new friends, and left everlasting memories for everyone involved. On behalf of the coaches, I want to say thanks, guys, and fire up. Now, a few years later, those freshmen became seniors. And at their varsity football banquet, the following was read. A group of little Sun Devils ventured to Lincoln, and all that can be said is that they left that place stinking. That is how it began four long years ago. Now there are 20 little Sun Devils left. We have been together for the best years of our lives, and Coach Andruski has always been there for us, to love, to care, to help, and to encourage. However, the one attribute that was superior to all these was a sincere faith and belief in those little Sun Devils. Through the good times and the bad, through it all, he still believed those little Sun Devils would do it. Through the victory of our freshman season, he believed. Through the mediocrity of our sophomore season, he believed. Through the defeat of our junior year, he believed. Now as seniors, his belief has paid off. Through the sweat, the injuries, and through the tears, he never ceased to love those little Sun Devils. No gift in the world would be a great enough symbol of our gratitude to him. So we give him these words and our sincere thanks. Those little Sun Devils that went to Lincoln at graduation will all be thinking of the memories we've made since we left the place stinking. Thanks, Coach. We love you. Fire up. I'd like to finish with one quote from one of those little Sun Devils. It was Bill Hickey, class of 88. Coach Andruski, thank you for picking me up and making sure I was okay in school. I owe you a million lifesavers. I have a leak in my heart when I think about what a great man you are. Once again, and I could never say it enough, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so our next inductee in the category of athletic achievement, I talked to her last night. I have to apologize. We were putting together the program, and Emily looked at me as we were saying off the print. She said, "Hey, Greg, I'm looking at Whitney's profile," and she said, "And I don't see any volleyball accomplishments." And on their placards, we put up this any sport that athletic achievement that they lettered in. I said, "Well, maybe she was just a normal volleyball player, and just got a letter." And then so I looked at it. She obviously didn't play volleyball, and so I feel so bad. We can correct that, and we'll change it and send it to her because I don't want her to get old in the twilight of her life and think, "Hey, I must have had a great experience playing volleyball, and I can't remember it." So anyway, some great athletes have come through school here at Mount Carmel High School. Obviously, they're on the wall. You've heard of many of their names. Very accomplished athletes. So if there's a statement that says you're the only one when it comes to the athletes of this school, then that's rarefied air. So this nominee is the only one, male or female, to be Athlete of the Year 3 times at Mount Carmel High School, and that is Whitney Spence.
All right, I'm going to get started a little differently. We're going to do a throwback to our Mount Carmel High School swim team cheer, circa 2004. Luckily, I conveniently have some family and former teammates planted in the audience. I'm going to say a line and repeat after me. Who? Galea. Ricky Tiki Timba. Ricky Tiki Timba. Mase Mase Ooh. Mase Mase Ooh. Ah, ah, ah. Ah, ah, ah. MC, ooh, ha, ha. MC, ooh, ha, ha. Whenever I think back on that cheer, the whole team circled up, jumping around, screaming, pretty nonsensical. I get the thrill in my spine, the pre-meet jitters, the excitement and pure joy that I remember feeling as a part of that team. There's really nothing like it. I played varsity basketball, played on the varsity swim team all 4 years at Mount Carmel. My experiences on those teams were the highlight of my high school experience. I will never forget all of the early mornings, the pregame warm-up in our home gym. It still smells the same walking in here. The nervousness before a big race and the overwhelming feeling of accomplishment when myself and our team hit our goals. Post-high school, I had the opportunity to swim at Stanford University and compete on the National Olympic Trials level, all of which were incredible, life-changing experiences. Swimming and basketball will always be a part of my identity, and my friends, teammates, and family will always be a part of my life. It's an honor to be part of the MC Hall of Fame inaugural class. I want to give a huge thank you to my parents, to my mom for every early morning, for every swim meet, every bowl of oatmeal and Costco chocolate chip muffin, for setting the example of perseverance, hard work, and dedication always. To my GR8 great dad, for secret Taco Bell runs after practice, for my first ever road race, for the pregame and pre-meet poems, and for his true grit and resilience. You both have always been my biggest and most unwavering supporters and set the kind of example that I strive to set for my son. I also want to thank my high school coaches, Robin Blaylock and Dan Peck, for believing in me, for creating the team environments that allowed us to thrive, to make memories and lifelong friends, and win CIF championships. Lastly, thank you to my husband, Phil, for continuing to support my sometimes crazy athletic endeavors, and for being my #1 fan. When I reflect back on my high school experience, a few moments stand out. The first is from swimming CIFs my junior year, when I got second place in my 2 events to my rival, in both the 200 and 500 free, but with both of us smashing section records and going to the 2 fastest times in the nation that year. While in the moment, I was disappointed to lose the races, I'm still in awe at how fast we swam, and I credit those races and those times to my teammates and my coach at Mount Carmel. I swam my best, and I had my most fun doing it here as a part of this team, while swimming less than I was maybe supposed to during basketball season, and some suboptimal training to accommodate for dual meets and other events. I swam 2 of the best races of my career, and the 200 free was still my personal best time. It is worth noting that I continued to swim against said high school rival in college. So she swam at Cal, I swam at Stanford, and I beat her every time we swam head-to-head from there on out. Another moment that stands out is the CAF championship basketball game my senior year. I was fouled going in for a layup with 9 seconds left. We were down by 1 point. I was on the line shooting 2 free throws. With an odd sense of calm and clarity, I knew that I was going to make those free throws. After sinking them both, the team rallied for an amazing defensive stop and we won. My first CIF basketball championship. What a way to go out. I will always remember that moment of exuberance with my teammates to cap off an incredible 4 years. Being a Sun Devil student athlete taught me the value of hard work and unwavering dedication, and cemented the importance of movement and physical activity in my life. It also taught me that I am better, that we are all better, and we are doing something for more than just ourselves. I swam and played my best and had the most fun when I was pulling for my team, just as I am my best self today when I am working for and towards something greater than myself. Thank you.
Okay, so the next inductee is inductee in achievement. Again, we are starting to learn, and I'm sure there's all kinds of achievers out there that went through the school that when you're an athlete and you're a swimmer or you're a baseball player and you go on outside school to have accomplishments, it's usually in swimming or baseball. But when you're a student, the world is open to whatever it is that you choose to go out to do. So I'm quite certain, I feel safe in saying that he's probably the only graduate that had a frog named after him by his colleagues. And so, without it, we're going to call up PhD Joseph Mendelson.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for this. And before I forget, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the support of my family for putting up with a house full of reptiles and amphibians constantly. If I was anywhere, I always had something with me in a bag or a bucket. And if I was coming to your house, I was going to ask for freezer space for my precious roadkills that had scraped up on the way to your house. And my family put up with that. My sisters are here. It's my sister's birthday today. Thank you very much. And I have to go off script for just a second to acknowledge one of the most amazing teachers I ever met, and that was Don Love at Meadowbrook Middle School. I hope some of you had the experience of working with him. But then, I've been so fortunate to be so many amazing places, so many remote parts of the world, and been put in situations to make some really amazing discoveries. And Mount Carmel set me up to succeed, set me up to accomplish and experience all of that. Specifically, the science department, the entire science department. Just short of having the keys to that building, they tolerated me in every nook and cranny of that building. I never left that building. Specifically, Bert McIntosh, as you already heard. And I should add that, as you probably noticed, I'm the other snake guy from Mount Carmel. Right? Sadly, Roy and I never quite knew each other when we were students. And he mentioned Bert McIntosh, and Bert McIntosh was also very influential to me. The inimitable Gary Hepler, if you knew him. Bob Bjorkquist, Steve Eisler, Lee Robinson, and then the teacher that made the biggest difference, who's here today, I'm very happy for that, is Kirsten Odegaard. And talk about a teaching moment. This is what she did. So I had free reign of the science department, and one day I found a bucket of preserved garter snakes, which was like a treasure chest for me. And I asked her, what are these for? Are we going to use these in class? Are we going to use these in class? I was hopping up and down all excited. And she said, I don't think she knew they were there. I don't think anyone knew they were there. I found them. And she said, why don't you take a couple of those and write up a lesson plan, and we'll do we will use these in class, but you're going to teach the class. And I, wow. And so I did, and I taught the class, and it was over, and she said, very nice thing. She goes, that was great. You did a great job. You did a great job. And I said, yeah, I think that went well, and I really enjoyed it. And she said, well, yeah, it went well because you're a scientist. Boom, dots connected right there. It's like it hit me like a brick, right? I'm not weird, I'm a scientist. That was a revelation, folks. I've since learned that the two words are synonyms, but we'll skip that part, right? And then to make the administrators in the room squirm, I'm going to tell you this actually happened on numerous occasions. You remember the little intercom thing on the wall, there's so-and-so in the class, which means you're in trouble, right? It would come on and say, is Joe Mendelson in the class? And the teacher would say, well, yes, he is. I'd say, we have a rattlesnake on the upper field. And so I would walk out of class, 16 years old, and go catch this rattlesnake, and then leave campus and relocate this rattlesnake up in the chaparral, and then come back to class. I'm pretty sure that doesn't happen anymore. and that's probably a good thing, although I was grateful for the opportunity, and don't take this the wrong way, but grateful for the opportunity to walk out of a class that wasn't a biology class, right? And lastly, I want to thank Marty Martinez, who really made all this happen for me today, and I simply could not be more proud and happy that what Mount Carmel did for me, and so proud to represent science and herpetology. And I hope, beyond Roy and I, that there are other snake people at Mount Carmel High School. And if they are, I'd like to meet them. Thank you all very, very much.
That's fantastic. Okay, so now we're over to another contribution member. There are actually San Diego High School Legends of Coaching. This is a group organization that recognizes accomplished coaches in the San Diego area, has for the last 25 years. Mount Carmel has been fortunate to have 8 of them, 8 Legends of Coaching. The next 2 coaches or contributors that are going to the Hall of Fame are both Legends of Coaching. The first one actually started one of our more successful programs. It was the boys volleyball program back in 1987. and she actually was credited, she won 8 CIF championships. Going in as a contributor to the school is Patsy Malta.
Thanks everyone for this great honor. It's kind of funny to think that this is a volleyball person who's 5'2" and coaches boys that are over 6'5", 6'6", and I'm a volleyball coach. It's so funny, people always go, you played volleyball? Yeah, I did, but only when I was a senior in high school. I want to thank everyone for this special, special honor. This school means so much to me. I was playing volleyball. We used to go to Rex and play all the time, and I was playing at Mira Mesa Rec, and these two boys walked over to me and they said, hey, would you like to coach us at Mount Carmel? And I was like, sure. And they go, well, there's no pay. And I go, well, that's okay. I guess I can deal with that. You know, I'm really rich, you know, so I'm famously rich, so I don't need money. So I said sure, and I went in and met Steve Levy, who was such a great AD, and I was with Frank and all the other ADs, and Steve was so funny, he was such a great guy. Brought me in, and went into the office, and he said, okay, you want to start this job? And I said, sure, and he found me a track stipend, so I got a little money. You know, we don't coach for the money, I'm sure. All these other achievement people that I know, we don't coach for the money. We coach because we love the kids and we love our sport, right? We don't do it for money, because we wouldn't do it, because we wind up making 50 cents an hour probably, and it hasn't got much better. I met my good friend Gretchen at Mount Carmel. She got hired the same time as I did. Walked in, you know, I see her, I was sitting in there, she walks out, I walk in. She got the job in English, and I got the job in volleyball. So then we became fast friends by working together. She was the JV coach for the girls and the JV coach for the boys. I started with the freshman girls, and then I did the varsity, and Mike Bird was the varsity girls coach, and I worked with him on the freshman boys side. So I did the freshman and varsity boys. She's stayed with us coaching, and she's been such a great influence and family member. She's my San Diego family, her and her husband John, and the kids. They're my San Diego family because my family's in Arizona. And Mike Bird too. I remember coaching we were coaching, going to tournaments up at Redondo Beach, and Mike Bird coached a Highland back then, and then he was like, we wound up playing against each other a lot, and it was funny because I knew his brother Russ, and then I knew he came on down here to coach, and he was offered a job at RB where he would have been the varsity coach, which RB was very unlucky that he decided to come to the Mount. And we are so glad that he decided to come to the Mount because, he just did such a big impact for this sport and this school. When we won our first CIF championship in 1996, we played at San Diego State, and we had pizza shorts on. They looked like pizza tablecloth, and they said iguana go-go on the butt. And that's what we were kind of known for at Mount Carmel. We all had Hawaiian shorts. Sure, all the football coaches and basketball coaches thought, what are my athletes doing wearing these shorts? Because we wore those for quite a long time. And we had the funkiest shorts, and Mike just told me today, he said, oh yeah, we thought you guys were so cool. It was really funny. We just had such, just my personality and what I was going to do. I have a lot of ex-players that, I have one guy named John Hyden, and Chrissy was mentioning Claudia Hayden, and John played on the Olympic team, 2 Olympic teams, and he's, hopefully someday he'll get here in this. I know Greg, we talked about it, but it's just hard for him to get here from Tennessee. I worked with John Gurton, who played for me in 2003 and 4. He won 2 championships. He is now an assistant coach at UCSD. He played for me, CIF Player of the Year, and he also coached with me. And then when I decided to start stepping down, because I thought I'd lose him, he became the varsity coach, and I assisted with him. And that started my journey as kind of, heading down, deciding it was time to get out. No more flowered shorts, so it was like, and my kids would always say, "Can't we have flowered shorts, Malta? Can't we get flowered shorts?" But then Gurton is now assisting at UCSD. He's, going on to bigger and better things, and he's a big part of my life too. The thing I like most about coaching at Mount Carmel is we didn't have the, you go to La Costa and Torrey Pines, those kids all play club. Now it's different now for us, but when I first started coaching, none of our kids played club. It was like maybe one, couldn't afford it. This is, we couldn't afford it. So these kids came and we had such great athletes. And I do feel like, basketball and volleyball are very good together. So I had a lot of basketball players that would run through walls for us. And, I attribute that for the championships that we won. And, it's just great because all these other teams were club athletes, and we did not have that many club athletes. We were very, kids couldn't afford it. So I really appreciate this, and I want to thank you all for this day. Oh yeah, I'm glad I didn't follow Coach Campo.
Okay, our next inductee is a contribution member, a true educator. He was the varsity wrestling coach here for 17 years. He was a PE teacher for more than 20. I won't say that they were runner-up CIF champions 8 times. I don't even know what team it was they were runner-up to, but I think it was the same one all the time. So, Jose Campo.
Well, thank you very much for coming here today. When I first heard that Greg was starting a Hall of Fame here at Mount Carmel, my sinful pride asked myself, do you really think that what you did in your 29 years would deserve a great honor like this? On my long bike rides, I would ask myself, what would you say? Who would you thank? On some days I would say, you know what? I would talk about the great wrestlers and athletes that I had. Or maybe I would talk about the coaches that changed my life, that were my brothers and sisters. But today I want to do something a little bit different. I want to talk about the greatest experience that I ever had, the greatest thing that ever happened to me as a Sun Devil. You see, in the late 1980s, Mount Carmel had a thing called in-school suspension. Instead of sending the kids home that were causing trouble, they sent them to the auditorium where they had to stay there all day and they had to do their homework. And for 3 periods of the day, that was my job. Can you imagine? I had a master's degree, 6.5 years of college, and there I was babysitting kids in an auditorium. But I didn't care because I had a job at Mount Carmel. I would try to keep this mean look on my face so everyone knew that I was serious. And then everything would change at lunchtime. Because in the door would come the most beautiful substitute teacher coming to have lunch with me. I couldn't keep from smiling. We started dating, and she made it through wrestling season. And then Coach McClanahan came to me and asked me, "Do you think that she's the one?" And I said, "I don't know, Coach." He says, "Because I'm going to hire her as an assistant long-distance track coach." So I'll never forget, I was at a track meet. They made me the jump coach. I lied to Coach McClanahan, told him that I'd coached track before. I was really a lacrosse player. I just wanted a job here at Mount Carmel. So I'll never forget, I was at the jumpers, and the measuring tape that they used was all tied up in knots. And I had no patience at all. And next thing you know, that substitute teacher came walking by, saw how frustrated I was, and said, "Give me that tape measure and take a lap." So I walked down to the high jump pit to check on Chrissy Grassini, and by the time I came back, there was that measuring tape, all in one, back to its normal self. You see, I was afraid that she wouldn't want to marry me. So I had to come up with a plan. What could I do? How could I put her in a position that she had to say yes? So the next fall, in front of all my wrestlers and all their parents, I asked Stacy to be my wife. I was lucky enough to coach a state champion and win coaches awards that I really didn't deserve. But nothing compared to the happiness of that day when Stacy said that she would be my wife. You know, in the 1990s, Mount Carmel implemented technology into the classroom. It was Stacy who single-handedly taught every teacher at the school how to use computers to take attendance, to do their grades, to put technology down in their classroom. We used to get phone calls from teachers all the time asking for help. I couldn't even take her to a football game without these teachers surrounding her at the game. I would get so mad. As a wrestling coach's wife, for 30 years, my wife was the tournament director of our JV and freshman county championships. She put technology into our tournaments, and for 30 years, she made it the most organized tournament in the county. And because of her help, she helped us raise over $200,000 for the wrestling program. When Joe Tezak's father was dying of cancer, on his deathbed, we were asked to go to the hospital. His father said, "Do me a favor, take care of my son." It was Stacy on the way home that said, "From now on, Joe is now our son. He's going to be treated like a part of our family." When Joe got injured, it was Stacy who went to the construction people and had our house changed around to have a bedroom and a bathroom on the first floor so Joe could get around in his wheelchair. I would come home from school and I would tell Stacy about some of the Sun Devils that were having problems at our school. Some had drug problems, some had parent problems, some were even homeless. And it was Stacy who would say, "Bring them to our home." 9 different times we had Sun Devils staying at our house. Some stayed for a day, Some stayed for a year. Some burned us. But every time it was Stacy who would say, bring them home. You know, if you coach long enough, you're going to get awards that you don't really deserve, kind of like today. But it's that coach's wife that people don't understand, that is helping raise the kids, that are keeping our house in order. You see, there's only one Hall of Fame person in my house, and that's my wife, Stacy. To the coaches that are here today. I want you to know what y'all mean to me. You changed my life. You were my mentors. You were my big brothers and sisters. You got me through some of the toughest times in my life. And words cannot explain how grateful I am. To the wrestlers and athletes, I want you to know that I loved you. And I still do. I know I was hard on you. I know I had high expectations. But hopefully now you understand why I was like that. I want you to know that the joys that I have in my life now are seeing the success that you have with you and your family. I'll end with this story. Before I came to San Diego, I had a successful coaching career. But my first year here, I wasn't a coach. In fact, I was a wrestling referee. I learned about the successful program over at Poway. I met Coach Brandstetter, and I learned that there was a teaching opening at their school. And I thought, wouldn't that be great to coach with Coach Brandstetter? They wouldn't even give me an interview. That Sunday I went to church, and the pastor said to me, you know what, God's got an unbelievable plan for your life, better than you could ever imagine. He told the story how in 1 Kings, the prophet Elijah asked God to send down fire to prove that he was the true God. And this amazing story all happened at a place called Mount Carmel. The pastor said that in Hebrew, Mount Carmel means God's vineyard. You see, growing up in New York, I would listen to the Beach Boys. And I would dream about coming out here and marrying one of those California girls that they talked about. I'm so grateful that God had a better plan for my life. He brought me a girl from Nebraska. Here I thought working at Poway would be a great thing. I am so grateful that God had a better plan, and he brought me to this school. The school changed my life. You people changed my life. I can't thank you enough. This is an unbelievable place. And I hope that you will continue to support all the things that go on here at Mount Carmel. God bless y'all. Thank you.
All right. It's a true educator. Okay, so we're down to the last one. We saved maybe the best for last. There's two ways to get into the athletic achievement part of the Hall of Fame. One is from what you do when you're here as a Sun Devil. The other, or a combination of what you do in your chosen profession athletically after you leave Mount Carmel. This person certainly fits the second part. We'll blame the first part on his coach, Hank Corelli. So the second part is, and there's no criteria, right? There's no set criteria for you to get in or not get in. But I'm guessing that if you get into the National Hall of Fame of your sport, and Green tells me it's the most popular sport in the world, that you probably deserve to be in the Mount Carmel Hall of Fame. He's also played on 3 World Cup national teams. He's coaching right now. He's actually had tremendous success and accomplishment, and that's Steve Sharundolo.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, committee, for setting this up. I believe this is an amazing example for our future athletes and students. It was always important for me to look up to somebody who was better and bigger and to learn from them and to achieve my goals because of them supporting me on. So I hope maybe I can be that example for somebody moving forward. What I feel is an attitude, I look over at my family over there. It's wonderful to be here back where I grew up. I spent the last 22 years in Germany. Just recently moved home 3 months ago. So it's home in Santa Monica. But we come home to PQ regularly. And it truly is my home, even though I spent half my life in another country. And thinking about PQ and having a few friends of mine at the table as well, who I went to school with, seeing all of your faces today, brings back wonderful memories, but it also reminds me of all the incredible individuals we heard tonight and your stories. Thank you. And the reason for that is Mount Carmel and our community, what they did for us. The core values, the beliefs, all the educators, administrators made that possible for a kid like me who had a dream and was able to succeed. So thank you very, very much. And mostly to that lady right over there, my mom. Countless trips to the coast in our 86 grade Dodge minivan or Chrysler, I'm not sure, with no seatbelts in the back, woodworking. That minivan also shuttled around my friends and I to the beach on the dirt road, for those of you who know that, with busted oil pans. I believe that was my brother, not me, but that van went through a lot, but that symbolizes also a lot. It's what we went through and our journey together, so thank you very much. On another note, something that has kind of followed my career through the ups and downs. There's been ups, there's been downs, and that is something in the downs, or during the downs, I've always drawn upon a strength, and that has been my inner family and my circle of closest friends that I grew up with. One is here today. I went to elementary school, middle school, and high school together, and this community has helped me in those times. And maybe not everybody's aware, but every single in this country, I believe it's over 46 million people suffer from mental health issues, and are dealing with that on a regular basis. And it is extremely important that we all have our antennas up. We share our stories. We talk on social media, on the internet, and have an ear for somebody, listen to somebody who is also struggling to make it less of a stigma, because it is something that can be healed, that can be helped. Mental health issues, I like to view it as just another injury, a soccer injury. Back, you'll know, a sprained ankle. You don't go out and play in a sprained ankle, you give it time to heal. And mental issues are the same. It just needs time to heal. There are tools out there to heal those who are in pain and suffering. And I urge everybody who is touched by this, who has this in their lives, in their family or circle of friends, give them the time to heal and to get better and to be at their best then after. I think somebody said it best, and I'll leave you with this quote. We've heard a lot of wonderful speeches, but I think it's always nice to end with a quote. Michael Phelps said this about athletes who struggled with mental health issues recently, most notably Simone Biles and at the Olympics. And Michael Phelps basically said, getting help is a sign of strength, not weakness, and he is very right. And I believe there is help out there. If any of you need any direction, what website to go to, just come talk to me and I'll point you in the right direction. Thank you for your time. Thank you again. And thank you to my family for supporting me, girls. 12 speeches, we're done. We can go now. And sorry, I couldn't help out MCHS soccer program any more than I did. But there is a future. Maybe I can help out someday around the corner. Thank you again.
All right, that concludes our third induction ceremony in the Hall of Fame. We figured that we have about 2 more years of November, June, so about 4 more to catch up to the great 50 years to the start of this school. It's had such a tremendous legacy. I'm just blessed to be part of connecting those dots. So invite you right across here, front of the school. We have a room. It's B5. It's a classroom. It's a nice little display. It's always under construction. So if any of you, first of all, know of any graduates, right, that we're not aware of that are doing something great in the world, please give us the information so we can consider them to be members of the Hall of Fame. And if you have any memorabilia besides McKinney's pants that he coached in 1975, please give them to us so we can put it, so people can come and see what has transpired here in the last 50 years and hopefully motivate the next 50 years. All right? So thank you for coming and enjoy the Pacific Hall.